Ever stare at a blank page wondering how and where do I start writing this research paper? Spoiler alert. Introduction is not your best friend. I also was there once starting to write my first research paper and I opened a blank page, typed in introduction and I waited, stared at it for a couple of hours thinking what do I start writing? And I started writing a sentence, then I started writing a paragraph and I deleted the whole thing. And this went on for at least a couple of days till I switched to writing methods because I decided that's something I know I have done and it would be easy for me to write. So let me start with the methods. And that's when everything clicked. Hi guys, welcome back to Rad's Research Room, and this is your safe space to master the art of writing academic and research papers. And in today's video, me, Dr. Radhika Kamdar, is going to teach you how to start writing a research paper basically with the methods. Yes, guys, you heard that right. Start your paper, your thesis with the methods, not with the introduction. So let's dive straight in and stay with me till the end of the video, and I will give you some real writing examples related to your lab protocols and stuff, and I will teach you how to write a paper. Writing methods is basically a straightforward process because it is factual, it's descriptive and totally dependent on what you've done in the lab. It will help you clarify the steps. When you start writing, you will have the clarity of the steps of every protocol or experiment that you've done for that particular paper. It will help you identify the tweaks that you might have introduced even for standard protocols. So you will know exactly what goes in particular experiment and you will be able to write it down stepwise. You will spot any missing pieces or any left out minor experiments that you might have missed, or you need to redo something if the data is not clear or certain protocol doesn't have some clarity or needs a little more standardization or fine tuning while you were writing and you feel that you can do a little bit better. So it will help you streamline your thought process. It will help you get into the flow of writing. For example, if it is say you identified a new protein in the lab, and if it is a methods paper, so you are going to have to start writing with what cell line you used or any other model that you might have used for that. How did you clone that particular protein? So it will come from sequencing, PCR amplification, and then you go on to the purification protocol, amplification and fraction collection, cell lysis even, checking the purity and the integrity quality of the protein, estimation, and you will have one whole flow together. Now if it's a method paper, then this is the piece of the methods. This is the most important and integral part of the paper, and it's done. Your methods are done. But if it is a expository paper and you are going to use this particular protein to prove some hypothesis and you have a string of experiments down the line, you still have one set of methods ready. For example, your sample part, sample preparation, from the model to cell lysis to protein purification to quality check and integration, the estimation part. It's already there. So you have one whole part ready, and that would build your one part of the story. You will start getting into the flow of writing without feeling overwhelmed and without feeling confused. You will find a structure in it. Trust me for that. In my previous video series on how to write a research paper, I have given a basic introduction about how to draft a manuscript and the structure of a conventional manuscript, that is IMRAD, Introduction, Methods, Results and Discussion. And that's why it's normal for students, you and including me when I was a student, it is natural to think that it is best to start writing at the beginning, and that is introduction. But guys, that's not true. Often when it comes to scientific writing, you need to have a clear line of thought, a clear story for your article. And writing introduction would require context, citations, clarity, and a complete structure. And unless you have that whole thing clear in your head, you're not going to be able to devise a whole introduction if the idea behind one particular article is not clear. And let's be honest, when you're actually writing the research paper, you're still not having a complete idea of your story. You still might be doing some experiments, trying to do some triplicate, duplicate, and reproduce some experiments, get the data right. Or even while you're writing, you realize that there are some loose ends and you're going to have to try some more experiments. So you are still doing experiments while you're writing the paper. And that's why I recommend that start writing with the methods rather than the introduction, because the introduction is the toughest part of a manuscript. Now let me give you a simple structure that you can follow while you're drafting your methods, and I will also give you some real examples about some of these you might be really using them commonly in your articles and in your labs. So this will be easy for you to follow along when you're actually drafting your method section. So first, always start with a very clear subheading line. Make sure you're giving the title about whatever it is, for example, samples. So you start with describing what samples you're going to use in the study, human participants or volunteers, case studies if you're using patients, then from where you collected, which hospitals, which institutes, list out all the hospitals and institutes that you have used to collect the patients, how many patients, if there were different categories or different parameters. Also specify the inclusion exclusion criteria for these cohort studies. Then after that you will go on to the procedures and protocols. For example, any in vitro studies, then you will specify all the in vitro methods and techniques that you would have employed. For example, if you're starting with Western blot. Now, what I want to say here is you do not need to give every single detail that you might have done on the bench, especially for standard methods like PCR, cloning, Western blotting, immunofluorescence, ELISA. All these are very standard protocols in molecular biology fields. And you do not need to give every single tiny detail. For example, I will describe Western blotting because that's my bread and butter, and I have done tons of Western blotting all my life. So there are standard things that I don't describe in the articles, and no one does that. You can always cite an original article or an article that you have followed for your study. So for example, when you're starting with Western blotting, you will mention briefly what cell line you obtained under the samples and how these were lysed, or any buffer or any specific protocol you might have followed. Or if you have designed a protocol specifically for your study, then you will describe that protocol in detail. Thereafter, when you actually do the Western blotting, now once you have your protein ready, you have cloned, you have purified, you have checked the quality, and you have determined its concentration. Now you actually go to the Western blotting that will start from electrophoresis. So you will mention how much of protein you have loaded per lane. You will mention the percentage of the STS-paid gel that you are using, but you do not need to mention how long the gel was resolved, what voltage you used, whether it was cold or dry conditions, unless it is very, very specific and you need that for your protocol to work. For example, if somebody wants to replicate your work, then they should be able to follow it to the detail. So if these time and temperature are a crucial or an integral part of the protocol, mention them. But if not, if it's just standard protocols, you do not need to mention them. Now, why I'm saying this? Because for things like Western blot, sometimes you want it to run slowly, you want to do something else, you might run the gel at 60, 80, 100 volts. And sometimes when you need quick separation, and these are small gels, even before they heat up, they are done. So we might run them at 150, 170 volts and they just resolve very quickly. So these things don't matter that much unless they are specific to the protocol. Thereafter, you will transfer these. Now, you definitely mention what membrane you used for transfer, whether it was PVDF, nitrocellulose, or any other new specific membrane you might be using. Then you need not mention for how many hours or what voltage or what current you used for transfer. That again is trivial detail. You can also skip mentioning whether you used dry transfer, wet transfer, semi-dry transfer, because these are again trivial details and may not be required unless your specific protein, a high molecular weight protein, gets transferred only at certain voltage and under certain transfer conditions. If it is standard protocol, trivial lab bench details can be skipped in any of these standard protocols. That's the thumb rule. And you can always use a citation and say protein was purified as per the previous protocol or as described previously, and give the citation in whatever format or style the journal guidelines specify. Thereafter, important thing to remember about methods is always use past tense, because if it is a study that has already been completed, you are publishing the data or the results for a completed study. Hence, it has been already done in the past tense, and hence past tense is better. Unless it's a proposal or it's a proposed study or for a future grant or something, then it is speculative and it's a list of what you're going to do next in the future, and then it will be future tense and factual things will be in the present tense. And I will make separate detailed videos about the semantics and the syntax of the writing, but for now just remember that methods go under past tense. The final thing would be most important for methods is to stay objective. Just describe all the tools, methods, protocols, software. For example, when it's human participants, just say that, say if you're using a questionnaire based study, a survey based study, so you can say a total of 25 students were recruited from the university email list or from advertisements or community pamphlets or something like that. All participants provided informed consent. Now, another thing here that I should mention is always remember to use the sentences and make sure that you also have proofs of it, that you have informed consent from any human participants or human based studies. Whether if it is children, then you should have consent from their guardians or representatives or whoever, but you need to have consent. You also need to have the proper ethics approval for human studies, animal studies. If you have used cell lines which were derived from a particular patient or patient tumors or something, then you need to have certain permissions, and your university guidelines will help you that. Another universal permission is Declaration of Helsinki. Please go through the website of Declaration of Helsinki. I will paste the link in the description box. So please make sure that you have all these necessary approvals before you start writing your paper, because sometimes these approvals, gaining these approvals take time. So you need to have IRB, Declaration of Helsinki, department, and patient and guardian consents. These are some of the important, and always check your institutional guidelines, even your target journal guidelines if any other specific permissions are required. These permissions can be included under the methods section. Sometimes the journal guidelines stipulate that they be mentioned at the end of the journal. So whatever it is, always follow the rules or the specifications of the journal, but make sure you include them. Even if it is not mentioned, make sure you include all the informed consent and permissions somewhere in your manuscript. If nowhere is mentioned, then the method section is the best place to give this information. There are 6 main components of the method section, and depending on your field or your topic of the article, you may add or remove some of these components, but these are the 6 main things. First, study design. Whether it's a live study based on samples or based on participants, or whether it's a retrospective study, prospective study, clinical trial, randomized clinical trial, double-blind study, anything. You just mention the study design. The second important component is the samples. Samples, cell line samples, eukaryotic, prokaryotic organisms, any whatever models, mice models, yeast, E. coli, bacteria, fungal models, whatever it is, or participants, human participants, patients, case studies, volunteers, or questionnaire-based population studies, all those things. Third, or most important, would be all the materials, tools, reagents, equipment that you have used. Always make sure that you include all the manufacturers, city, country for every manufacturer, every equipment, every tool, every reagent that you have used. And also check the journal guidelines about how much detail you need to give about each of these materials. Fourth is the procedures and the protocols. Now this is the most elaborate and the most descriptive section because it will include all the protocols that you have used. For example, if it's an in vitro study, you will have all your protein purification, cloning, sequencing, ELISA, fluorescence, flow cytometry, anything and everything that you have done in that particular article for that particular study. All the lab protocols, all the procedures. And some may need to be elaborate depending on how many changes or tweaks you have done to suit your particular need and your experiment, or whether it's standard experiment and you could write them briefly and very concisely. Next, or the fifth one, is data collection and methods that you have used for that. For example, some data would be collected just as spreadsheets or graphs, or some would be questionnaire based survey, or any other figure-based collections, or all those kinds of things. All different models these days, even there are new texts like AI-based models, language learning models. So whatever falls under that realm, you need to include under the data collection process. And the sixth and the most important, I cannot stress enough, is the analysis of the data. All the statistical analysis tools, software, methods, programs, that whatever you might have used to analyze your data, you have to mention those with their versions, model numbers, whatever narrowed down detail about particular programs or program versions or default parameters or new parameters, tweaked parameters, anything that you have used specifically for that data analysis is extremely important to be included in this particular section. So there are 6 main components. Do not forget that. And of course, you add and remove as per the need of your article. So by the time you would have finished writing your methods, you would have exercised your writing muscles, you would have gained clarity, and it will give you a proper direction to write your results and discussion. And trust me, once your methods, results and discussion are done, introduction will pretty much write itself. There will be no worry. You will have a proper structure, you will have a clarity, you will have a direction for your entire manuscript. You will also know what to add and remove while you're writing the methods. So trust me, and I cannot stress this enough, please start writing your research paper with the methods. It's the backbone of any manuscript, and it will help you get into that flow of writing, and things will just happen naturally. You will not have to be overwhelmed or be stressed or be wondering about how to write or what to write and what to include, what not to include, because it will tell you itself whether this needs to be kept, whether this needs to be removed. The things will start clicking in place just automatically. So tell me in the comment section what you found good about this video, if you like this video, if you found it helpful, and also tell me what particular section you find difficult to write, whether it's results, discussion, introduction, even methods if it is, and I'll try to help you to the best of my ability. I'll guide you. And if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe to my channel Raj Research Room for more such writing tips and more such updates on academic life. And do check out my previous video on how to write a conventional manuscript, and stay tuned for more videos in this writing your manuscript series.